Alison Watkins, welcome to our Leaders Unleashed series.
That's a pleasure, Jo.
You've got the top job at GrainCorp. In fact, you're the first woman to be appointed as CEO of an agribusiness here in Australia. So we're very lucky to have you. And our series is about leadership. But first, I'd like to ask you why you got involved in the Hunger Project.
Sure. Well, look, I think the Hunger Project connected for me in a lot of different ways. First of all, I am passionate about food and agriculture, so anything to do with food is interesting for me. And GrainCorp, our core business is all around wheat, and we export a lot of wheat to different markets, Asia, Middle East and Africa. And so I'm very, very conscious when I go and visit our customers in some of those countries of the important role that Australian wheat plays in feeding a lot of poorer populations in the world. And I'm also very conscious of the population growth and the rise in living standards and the role that we'll play in that. So it really is, it fits very, very well for me in that sense. I guess the other thing for me in thinking about the causes that I want to get involved in and support is the quality of the people and the people who associate themselves with that cause and the people who are really driving it. And so very much having the opportunity to meet Kathy and see her passion, and also to see a number of the other terrific people, many of whom I've known over many years and have great respect for, just demonstrated to me that this is an organisation that's really high calibre and making a difference.
You have 4 children, and I understand your husband Rod and your son Elliot went to Ethiopia with the Hunger Project in 2008. How was that for them?
Yeah, look, that was an amazing experience, and I just thought that was a fantastic thing, because one of the important things for any cause that you want to get involved in is how do you really connect? How can you make it meaningful? And so I think the trips for investors that Kathy and the team arrange are a really important part of making the work of the Hunger Project really real and relevant. And look, in our case, I feel quite, humbled that Rod and Elliot had that opportunity pretty early on in our involvement with the organisation. And for Elliot, who was 13 at the time, it was just a real eye-opening experience, because of course he has a very privileged life here in Australia. He really hadn't travelled at all, let alone to Ethiopia, and to really see what a different way of life there was, but yet to see the joy and the happiness, and to see the impact that an organisation like the Hunger Project, who's working so effectively with those communities, can make, was transformational. And I think also for him he travelled with a group of adults. There weren't too many other 13-year-old kids, I don't think. He was very lucky to be able to go along, and very lucky that the adults put up with him, I guess. But the opportunity to be amongst adults, including people like Kathy, who are really showing such great leadership, I think is a very good role modelling exercise for him as well, in terms of shaping the values and the balance that I hope he'll display as he grows up.
How has giving impacted your family unit as a whole?
As I think about the kind of parent that I want to be, I think I want to set a good example to my kids in the way I work, in the relationships I build with my family, with my friends, and also the role that I play as a community leader. And what I try to do is just think about a small number of areas where I can connect and I think I can make a difference. And for me, those are around the environment, it's around women, and it's also around food and agriculture, and really doing something offshore that's making a difference to communities where there's such a great need. And an organisation actually like the Hunger Project brings those areas together for me very, very well. It brings together women, it brings together the environment, and creating sustainable communities, and obviously feeding people. So it's a really great fit. And I think for my family, some focus of our time and how we think in the community is a really important part. Now, I find for my kids, it's easier for them to connect to community causes that are very close to us. For example, my daughter's working at locally at the local St Vincent's de Paul, and she really likes that, and it's sort of meaningful and relevant. And I think over time, the causes that they'll connect with may be similar to ours, they may be different than ours, they may always be local, or they may be more international. It doesn't really matter, but I think what I hope is that they'll grow into adults for whom that is a part of their life, and it's a part of the balance and part of who they are as they grow.
It sounds like you're breeding good leaders. And while we're on the topic of leadership, I understand that when you were appointed CEO of GrainCorp, you described it as a leadership act on behalf of the organisation. I'm interested, do you think the tide is turning for women leaders in Australia, or do you think we're still in for the long haul?
Look, I feel very optimistic. I think we're seeing a lot of change. There's a lot of impetus and a lot of leadership coming from the business community itself. So we're seeing the ASX leading the way on promoting gender diversity. We're seeing the Australian Institute of Company Directors picking the ball up with its mentoring program for ASX 200 companies. We're seeing the Business Council of Australia with its development programs designed to get more women into senior executive roles. We're seeing organisations, leading organisations with clear gender diversity policies and measurable objectives. And I think we're really seeing a focus, and it's coming a lot from just the broader concern about organisational sustainability and building our organisations with that'll be here in 10, 20 years' time, not just delivering financial results for the next year or two. So I do feel very optimistic about it. I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity that I do to lead GrainCorp, and I do think it was a bold choice by the GrainCorp board. I feel that I have the right sort of skills and experience and credentials, but agribusiness is a pretty traditional sort of industry. It's a pretty male-dominated industry. So, yeah, we'd never even had a woman on the board at all at GrainCorp. So to leap from that state to having a female CEO is a bold choice. But actually, I don't think our board even thought about it in those terms at all, which is makes it all the more fantastic.
So for the men and women watching who've just heard that you have 4 children, you're CEO of a top Australian company, the question has to be asked, how do you make it all work?
Well, it is very much Rod, my husband, who makes it work. I think we really try to think about ourselves as a family unit, and a few years back, once we had child number 4, it was getting a little bit too much crazy juggling act, and it just made more sense at the time for Rod to ease back on his career, and I was very much enjoying my career, and he was very happy to do that. He's developed a lot of other great interests since he's been working less intensively. He's a really good photographer. He keeps fit. We also have a farm, very much enjoy that sort of way of life as well, and he's very active in that sense as well. He does a huge amount for all of the schools that we're involved in. So he's really very happy with that. I'm very happy, and I love my job. And when we took on the GrainCorp role, well, I took on the GrainCorp role, but we as a family took on the GrainCorp role. We talked about it as a family to make sure that everyone was comfortable that it would work. And actually it's been a real positive, because I spend a lot of time up in Sydney. My family are based in Melbourne. I think it's contributed to our eldest daughter really stepping up and being a fully functioning member of the family. She's a great big sister, and I'm not sure that her brother would say she's a great big sister, but she's a great big sister to her sisters. And she really helps Rod a lot. And yeah, I think I try and work hard during the week and get home and really enjoy the weekends with them as much as I can, and it's working very well.
Investors in the Hunger Project are at all stages of their personal and professional growth. So if you had some advice for aspiring leaders, what would that be? What would you suggest?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think when I look back at why I'm doing what I'm doing, I think it's a lot because I've been fortunate enough to work with some really good people who created opportunities for me, who took a risk on me, and who probably pushed me to do things that I might not have done myself. And as a result, I developed quite a lot of breadth of experience, because I think when somebody gives you an opportunity, you don't want to let them down, and so you try really hard, even though inside you're thinking, I'm way out of my depth, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but you really want to try hard and not let that person down. So as I say, I think I've been fortunate that people have gone out of their way to create opportunities for me and take a risk on me. if I had my time again, or if I were advising anyone who's starting out, I'd say, go create those opportunities for yourself. Be confident, take risks, and silence that inner voice that's telling you, that's too hard, I won't know what to do. Because there are so many opportunities out there, and I think, quite often you can be really enjoying what you're doing, whatever it is. But, go try something else, because who knows, you'll probably enjoy that too. And then 1 + 1 can create, opportunities, new opportunities that take you way beyond anything you would have imagined. So my main advice would be try lots of different things, learn as many different skills, gain as many experiences as you can, and create those relationships with people who will help you and create opportunities and take risks on you.
Alison Watkins, on behalf of the investors in the Hunger Project, thank you very much for your time today.
It's a pleasure, Jo. Thank you.